else is bringing you this information. So we're talking about GADREEL or GADREEL. Many ways to say it. Jeff, you do seem to be more alive. Thank you, Mandela Mile. There's no doubt about it. I'm not talking about GADREEL from Supernatural, although that is I think it's a fun, interesting, and even at times educational experience to watch Supernatural. It'll open you up, it'll give you some ideas, and it will entertain you. And that's not a really bad combination in my mind. But on Supernatural, there's a guy called GADREEL, but we're not talking about that guy. We're talking about the entity known as GADREEL or GADREEL in the third book of Enoch, the book of parables, and the possibility that it just might be the revelation of the arch enemy of humanity. And that's a pretty important discussion for a Saturday afternoon, I think. So, you know what I think about the book of Enoch. We'll talk about that. You know what I think about naming demons and devils, and we'll talk about that. Journeyman says Supernatural is about the only show he watches. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We have for you again today, for your viewing pleasure, a specially prepared Wayne Steiger style presentation, sort of. I just want to get it down for those people that are visual. I want you to be able to see this. GADREEL. Why you won't hear me say God again. This is a little bit of new cosmic knowledge being dropped onto you. And many of you recognize this verse from the book of Exodus, I believe. Or is it Isaiah? But we're going to find it in a minute. And it says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" Not only is it archaic 17th century English, it is intentionally, diabolically altered. And I think you're going to be very, very surprised. It is Isaiah. You're going to be very, very shocked. And I think, frankly, you're going to be blown away. I can't speak slower. You're going to have to listen faster. And it says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations?" What do you say that we go and look and see what Isaiah 14 really says? How about? So let's go to BibleHub.com. Those of you that know me and have watched me understand how we do this. We go to BibleHub.com where we can look at the original language, we can look at the plain English, and we can see what was really said. And as we go to the King James, it says again, "How art thou fallen, Lucifer, son of the morning, cut down, weaken the nations." That's what they want you to think it says. But that's not what it really says, and I'm about to prove it to you by going up here to the interlinear, which again is the Hebrew word for word, and even if you don't like the Bible, this is going to blow your mind right here. So, what it says is, "How are you fallen?" And if you click on this word, it tells us, you're fallen. You have lied. You've been abandoned. You have been brought down. So the sense of this is somebody demoted you. Somebody knocked you down. Somebody took you from a place where you were in heaven. What's heaven mean? Does that mean he was on a cloud playing a harp? No. What it means is he was at access to the heavens and the skies. So whoever this person was, in Air Force terms, I spent 6 years in the United States Air Force, he's been grounded. He's on DNF status. He's been DNF'd. Duties not to include flying. This being used to have access to the heavenlies. This being used to have access to the skies. But he's been grounded. Who is this being? The translators want you to say it's Lucifer, but I want you to notice up here that it's not Lucifer. This being that has been grounded is morning, shining star. So you that used to have access to the heavens, you that was as a shining star, you that was as bright as the morning, yea, you were even called the son of the morning, you've been cut down. You have been cut down, you've been hewn off, you've been chopped, you've been grounded. Where have you been grounded to? To the earth. What? You've been grounded to the land. You used to be able to fly, you used to be able to access the heavenlies, but you've been grounded and confined to the earth. Why? Because you did weaken. Because you caused to fall prostrate. That means lay on your face in worship and obedience. You've caused to fall prostrate. Who? Prostrate, not prostate. Sorry, gentlemen, didn't mean to give you that little clinch. You've fallen prostrate. Who? The nations. The people. Put it together, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, have you fallen from the heavens in your ability to access the atmospheres, you shining one. You have been cut down, hewn down, chopped into pieces, confined to the earth for causing men and women to fall on their face in worship. Wow. Wow. You've been cut down for causing men and women to fall on their face in worship. You like apples? How do you like them apples? You've been in church all your life. You've never heard that before. That's why you come here. Things to recognize. It did not say Lucifer, it said sons, and there was more than one of them. More than one of these entities that thought themselves stars, that thought themselves shiny ones, that were able to go to and fro, maybe travel interdimensionally. I don't know. It just means the sky, so I'm extrapolating there. These sons were grounded because they caused the people to fall prostrate or worship. The true divinity grounded these entities because they were causing people to worship. But God says He wants us to worship Him. That's because He's one of these bad sons. But He wants us to fall prostrate before Him. That's because He's one of these bad sons. Do you want to worship a bad son that's been grounded and continues to do to you what they've been grounded for? It's up to you. And bless God, that's the King James Version Twitter. Bless God, that's the King James Version YouTube. Now the Book of Enoch. You know that I believe that the Book of Enoch as we know it today is a forgery. If you can search the Book of Enoch in my channel here, I have at least 3 videos on it. I believe it's a forgery, a fake, a fraud, a phony. However, that doesn't mean that there wasn't really a true Book of Enoch at one time. And in the Book of Enoch, 48:6, actually the 3rd Book of Enoch, you guys didn't even know there's more than one, the 3rd Book of Enoch, which is known as the parables. And we have to stop for a minute and talk about what a parable is. What is a parable? A parable is a story. A parable is an illustration. A parable is an analogy. A parable is not necessarily something real, many times not, but it's a story that's used to teach you a lesson. So this book is called the Book of Parables, so it's not meant to be taken literally, it's a parable. Oh, now you get it. And the name of this 3rd angel, or this 3rd being, was GADREEL. He's the one that showed men all the deadly blows. Oh, he's the one that taught them war. Who taught us war? Who now has us continue to war? Who calls himself the Lord of War? Interesting. Says he led astray Eve, showed men weapons of death. the sword for slaughter. From his hand has gone out against those who dwell in the ground, from that time forever and ever. Against those that dwell in the ground, remember? You sons were cast down where? To the earth, because you caused to worship whom? The people of the world. And what has caused more people to worship the way that other people want them to worship than war? Who does GADREEL remind you of? I'm just asking. GADREEL, the short version of GADREEL is Gad. Sounds an awful lot like another word. Another word that describes a being that makes you do warring in his name and makes you do falling prostrate worship in his name. One of these bad sons who got grounded by the true deities. I don't know. Maybe that bugs you. Maybe it doesn't. Remember, GADREEL was mentioned as one of the third, was the third one of 5 Satans. The others were Yequan, he shall rise, Asbiel, deserter from God, Panume, the inside, and Castei, the covered hand. What if we just expanded upon that and just wrote it out as a sentence? GADREEL means the wall. What if this really says, instead of it being 5 Satans, what if it really says that Gad, or God, is a wall that shall rise, built by the deserters of the Elohim, to wall off the insides and be the covered hand over the eyes of the sons of men? That's what you call a little study. That's what you call a little putting it together linguistically. That's what you call not teaching what you think, what you wish, what you want, but covering the text from A to Z, baby. Why won't I say that word again? Because I had a little bit of new cosmic knowledge dropped on me. I know this verse is a farce, like many of the other verses. 80%, I'd say now, of the Bible's dung. Still 20% makes it worth digging through the pony crap to find the diamonds. The sons have fallen from the heavens. They've been grounded to the earth because they cause people to worship. And the true Elohim don't want you worshiping. And if it wasn't plain enough, even the book of Enoch says that the wall, the GADREEL, has been built by deserters of the Elohim to wall off the inside of you and cover your eyes so you can't see the truth. That's why this is new cosmic knowledge. That's why this is good stuff. That's why you're here. That's why you watch. And that's why we are setting, I almost said a bad word. We're setting brothers and sisters free. Bam.